Hey everybody, thank you yet again for listening to another episode of Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories. We have a brand new subscriber by my man, Richie. Thank you very much, Richie. I appreciate your support. We also want to go ahead and thank Courtney as well as Tamsin and Aiden. Give you guys all a shout out for supporting the channel. If you guys are interested in also supporting the channel, feel free to click the link below in the description to our Patreon, where you will have access to additional episodes, extra episodes, and extra bits from the show that we don't put on our Spotify and our YouTube channels. Now, with that being said, I'm going to start talking, and you're going to start listening to the next episode. Here we go. Have you ever dealt with a teenager? I mean, they're rude, inconsiderate, hormonal, reckless, emotional. I mean, we're all teenagers at some point. Heck, there are even some songs that say that teenagers scare the living, well, stuff out of me. But what if it weren't all bad? What if we could break through to our kids before the incoming tsunami of hormones come to change them forever? If you knew you could do something, would you? Well, on today's episode of OPES, we have Mr. Marcus Aurelius Higgs. Not to be confused with the Roman emperor, but Marcus here specializes in relational communication from parents to children. He primarily focuses on preteens with his patented show up framework, a technique he gives to parents to better help understand their kids before it gets too late. We talk about the struggles he sees with parents trying to communicate effectively, his worldly travels, and I get a little personal in this one. This was a fantastic episode, and I truly hope you guys enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed recording it. Now, with that said, if you're ready, we're going to turn off the TV. We're going to silence those cell phones and tablets. We're going to head on over to the family room for a nice, friendly discussion with another ordinary person with an extraordinary story. Kind of always curious, do you have like a ritual before you do this? Like, do you like coffee, just like a special hand washing technique? I don't know, nothing like that.
Nothing that deep. I mean, if anything, in all activities, lead and leave with gratitude. Just recognizing something outside of myself that's working for my well-being.
I love
And
that.
you set up the microphone. Somebody made these mics. Somebody set up these computers so that we can exchange ideas. I'm grateful for those people. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. I mean, if I'm gonna express some gratitude, I'm grateful for I always especially if it's early in the morning like this, I always like maybe like get like a little coffee or some breakfast though. And I had just the nicest people in the drive-through. Like I was talking to the
Hey.
guy taking my money and he's just like, dude, someone tipped me a Bible. And I'm like, not okay, cool. There you go. Like good energy, dude. So
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, there
no,
you go.
it's
It doesn't cost anything to be kind. That's awesome.
absolutely, absolutely. That's why we do this cast here too. Well, speaking of kindness, though, I'm gonna, I guess, also preach gratitude and just say thanks for coming on the show to everybody. Coming on the show today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. My name's Tristan, your host, and today I have a really interesting guest here. His name is Marcus Aurelius Higgs, which that's a Roman emperor, isn't it? But
Yeah, the last of the five great Roman emperors,
there you
and
go. I got a
he wrote
Roman
a book.
emperor, guys, like an actual honest to goodness emperor. Like I don't even know how I swung it, dude. Like thank you so much.
You got Higgs, Marcus Aurelius Higgs,
Ah, no,
the
no,
last
no, no,
piece.
no. You're like the cousin. But no, yeah, I invited him on the show. He's another pod match guest, but he hit me up actually, but his profile and his approach to what he does really intrigued me. I know I got a couple parent listeners, and I am a son of a parent, if you could believe that. But he has, well, you know what? Actually, Marcus, I'm gonna ex have you explain what you do, and then we can gonna go from there.
Yeah, I am a communication coach, for parents of preteens. Uh, Down 3 levels there. I help them connect with their kid in communication during these formative years. And there's a specific reason why it's preteens as opposed to teens. And a little bit about myself. I'm the son of, of a parent as well. Mom from the Philippines, dad from the Bahamas.
No way.
And yeah, got the island in my blood on both sides. I was born in Riverside, California, and grew up some time there, then in Alabama. And then when I was 12, I moved to the Bahamas with my father. The only reason I mention that is because multiculturalism is a big part, and identity is a big part of the work that I do.
Hmm.
Studied communication at university, went straight away to South Korea, where I became an English missionary teacher. I
Okay.
say my understanding of the divine expanded. It didn't necessarily change my beliefs, but my beliefs changed. If that means anything. No animosity towards the church or anything, but I didn't want to. I, I came into, then I went and taught out inside Saudi
Oh,
Arabia.
brother, I'm so sorry. You cut out
What's
like
up?
at probably the most pivotal part right there. Could you say it again? Like your religion, or it's like the mindset of, I guess, maybe who God or who God can be, or what I you mind elaborating on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. My understanding of the divine expanded. I remember one time I told somebody I changed my worldview, but it's our worldview is continually changing, right?
Mm,
And
yeah, I
I've
like
always had a
that.
sincere relationship with, in my understanding, it's greater forces, higher powers, God, the divine universe, as you'd say it. And I feel I'm still sincere in what I do. And this touches on my work also too. And we can come back to this, but I taught in Saudi Arabia, learned about Islam as a world religion, taught in Spain, taught in Thailand for 7 years, and now I'm back in the Bahamas with my aging parents. Mr. Rogers said, if you want to help the children, support the parents. And my
Yeah, yeah.
communication teacher told me the quality of your life is directly related to the quality of your communication.
I love that.
And
I love that.
that's what I do. And why do I do it? Because life is good, man. Life is good.
No, and you just kind of had this. I mean, first off, I'm gonna compliment you and kind of say, I mean, like that's not an easy feat to
What's
work
that?
on mending or communicating with. I mean, children are already difficult though, but you're like preteens. I mean, not as bad as teenagers, but I mean, like you're like I think we were discussing on the phone. I mean, that's when personalities start forming, though. That's when people like where you start hearing the no, or I'm not doing that, or I don't want to, or I'd rather play Fortnite, mom, or I don't know what the kids are playing nowadays, though. But they're again, is I think it's when that kind of what's the word? It's not disrespect. It's another term for like defiance. It's when the defiance kind of comes out. Like, you know what? I don't want to. No, that no. It's it's a bit of a trial, my friend. And you're like, I want to do this. I want to be on the front lines for this.
Well, you know what it is? So I used to teach English language arts. Hey, go for it, man. Like I see you on the camera, go for it. I used to teach English language arts, and we talked about conflict. And really, what conflict is just two separate wants. Now, and the reason I say wants is because there can be internal conflict, like you want two different things. But really, what we see at conflict at this age is the kid wants to, and I think all of us, we want to be sovereign beings. We want to control ourselves. But the kid also knows, I don't know about this world. And that's what adolescence is. Adolescence is you coming into your individual independence. And it's that shift from dependent into independence where they're trying to figure themselves out. And if you know your audience, you know what they're experiencing, then you know how to communicate with them more effectively. And that's what I help parents do. Like, I hear you saying there's conflict at this age. Another axiom from communication is there's conflict in all relationships. That doesn't define the relationship. What defines it is how do we deal with that conflict? And so then I'm trying to skill up and support the parent in how they deal with that conflict
I like
so
that.
that they
I
can,
like that.
yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, well, you said it a while ago, but I'm going to touch back on it. I'm a Cali kid too. That's cool. So man, you weren't
So
kidding about the whole multicultural thing. I mean, you kind of been a little bit everywhere. My goodness. Teaching English, I mean, it just almost always sounded like you wanted to kind of lead a kind of teaching. lifestyle almost of just like again of helping others, helping them get better, helping them find like in their voice or I guess again to communicate. Was that always kind of there growing up? Like, did you always, I guess, try to maybe because you had both like kind of different multicultural parents though, like there was maybe a lack of communication or there was like gaps where you're like, I would like bridging those gaps. I mean, like, how did that start? Did it start at a young age?
Wonderful question. First of all, yeah, there was misunderstanding there. And there's misunderstanding in all communication, right? You could be from the same culture, same city, same family, and have misunderstanding. Now, two things come to mind. One, I always saw people. I like really do love people. I know that sounds cheesy, but I lead with it. I love people, and I don't
This
love
is
your
a
kids as
loving people podcast where,
well.
yeah, you're a good place, buddy. You're here.
All right, yeah, yeah. And even if I wasn't, I mean, that's me. I've learned like I want people to do well because other people matter. Yeah, your vibe, like you vibe with people. The second thing is I've always been curious, and to teach is to learn twice.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I love learning.
Okay.
So I'm just lead with curiosity. When I was teaching in South Korea, yeah, it was mission work that took me over there. But when my worldview changed, I still loved people, and I was just like, I used to. There's a difference between traveling to a place and then
Hmm.
traveling to a place and you're in the classroom having conversations with the people.
Mm,
Like I got to experience all of those cultures at a classroom level. And what I
okay.
mean by that is you really understand the values of the culture and like you're really there with them in it.
Yeah. It's not so
Um,
like surface level as far as like you're there as a tourist though. You're actually like again, kind of almost like you're looking behind the curtain. They're like, this is how it's really done here. This is how it's taught in the home, kind of thing.
and so let me tell you like this, right? In
Okay.
Korea, the schedule I had would be early morning schedule. So you're teaching the businessmen and the college students who have to rush off to college class.
Okay.
After that, you would have that midday hour where you're teaching the ajubas, which is the married women, and they would come there and complain about their husbands and their little kids.
I don't want to be.
And then
Okay.
after that, later on in the afternoon, then I teach the little kids who were in grade school and so on. And I saw every aspect of the Korean culture,
Interesting.
and we talk about it, and it really you have insight. That's how my insight and wisdom grew, understanding how they're just like me, and then understanding how, oh no, they hold different values and different things are important to that culture that are not like me, but are part of the human experience.
Was that like your first time? I mean, I know we talked about you kind of living that multicultural lifestyle, but was that like kind of the first time where it clicked? You're like, wow, we're a lot more in common than I realized at that moment.
So, so check this out. In I was born in California, moved to Alabama when I was 2. We were very much part of the Filipino culture there.
Hmm.
So like I wore barongs, I did tininkling. It's a traditional dance. I ate the food. Mind you, and those who are only listening, I look Black American. I am Caribbean American. I have an afro behind this. I'm brown. So I look different from all the other Filipino people, but I very much felt Filipino.
Okay. Were you accepted though from the Philippine culture? Like, did they like, oh no, no, he's one of us, or was there kind of a little bit of
Filipino people are so yeah, no, no. I really felt like yeah, he's one of us. I've always felt as other, but then also as one of
which is
us.
good. That's great.
Because when I moved to the Bahamas, I was that American kid with glasses who spoke funny, but still, he's one of us. And I think that's what also gave me that ability to fit in where I like get in where I fit in. It's that divide of other still being comfortable in the skin I'm in.
And that's really helpful because I mean, like, you kind of hear almost the opposite, especially like
Mhm.
America today, where everyone talks about feeling like an outsider, feeling different, or prejudices and whatnot, though, to be able to be
Mhm.
like, oh no, I fit in with humans, with people. And I can see why, especially with kind of that loving environment, though, we're just like, I mean, I don't know, it could be a testament to your energy, could be a testament to the people, the vibe, as you so to speak, though. But I mean, there must have been something there where it's like, you had that. I mean, we're having it now, technically. You got a bit of a kind of a warm energy where it's just like, again, it's you seem easy to talk to, kind of easy to just
So,
kind of like get into it though. So again, I don't know if that's a testament to your character or something else.
yes,
Yes,
and
yes,
that's what I'm.
you're like, yeah, and
And
I'm also stupid handsome. Yeah, whatever, there you go.
I'm high. I'm high.
All right,
I'll tell you like this.
yeah.
You're good, Tristan.
No, no, no. Tell
Um,
tell me like it is. Tell me like it is.
so like I told you, I've had a sincere, I feel, relationship with the divine growing up. So that is what's creating that warm feeling. I think there's work by Lisa Miller talking about our interconnectedness, and I acknowledge that. And Lisa Miller, she's a positive psychologist out of Columbia University. She wrote a book called The Awakened Child and the Awakened Brain. And we took spirituality out of the public discourse, which I think is when I say we, meaning America,
Mhm.
which is contributing to this divide and animosity, It's how
Yeah.
can I have respect for you while respecting your individuality of what you believe?
Okay.
Now there's that part, right? But in all of my travels, I've also learned how to find the common ground with a person real quick. And when I say real quick, you meet a character, they have desires, there's something
Mhm.
impeding them from their desires. And then they're moving forward in their character strengths and their character values, things that are important to them. And when I know all of those things, you're a character of who I can communicate with now. So I know where the common ground is. And the woo-woo level above that is I believe you are me experiencing life from a different perspective. And if I was born in your context, that means your space, your time,
Okay.
I would have made all the same decisions you would have made. So that's why I have no judgments about your decisions. And I'm leading with curiosity to understand you as far as you're willing to go.
Which again is very humbling and very inviting.
I know who I am, and I'm curious to understand who you are, Tristan, that I might understand myself. And now I'm gonna take this all the way back, and then I said a lot.
Hey, no, no, keep going. I love it. I'm in it.
The Delphi said, "Know thyself, and you'll understand the secrets of gods and men." The
Mhm.
Delphi is in Greek tradition on the pedicle, the oracle where they would go for wisdom.
Yeah.
Know thyself, and you will understand the secrets of gods and men. Go inside, be introspective, understand yourself as a human, the fullness of it, and you will understand other people while they're going through their struggles. That's really what it is. That's the and part. So yes.
And okay. Well, no, and it's funny you even mention that though, again, the whole like leading with curiosity though, because that is an energy of itself that people can feed on. It's like it's one thing when it's like, oh, hey, this person wants something from me. This person has ulterior motive. It's completely different. It's like, oh my God, this person, I can tell they genuinely want to know who I am. And it's again, it's almost like a high. People are like, wow, nobody else is like this. Nobody gives a rat's behind about this. This is wonderful. Okay. So,
Curiosity is a character virtue. And again, this is virtues in action, 24 that are with all people.
okay.
But but you can only be curious. Hold on, that's an absolute.
Okay.
Oftentimes you're curious when you're from a place of security.
Okay.
Like I said, I had to know myself first before I could venture out to say, okay, what else is out there? So that's why I encourage you and encourage anybody listening, yeah, do the inner work. Like look at the inner development goals, the IDGs. Know yourself.
Okay. And then funny enough, it's even just talking about all this is kind of I've I have a very similar mindset. I don't mean to get ultra nerdy, but like so as far as this goes, is it's how do you even want to describe this? Basically, I found at a young age that like
Mhm.
people's stories fascinated me. Or like same thing,
Oh
I
yeah.
also kind of came with a kind of a curious mindset where I don't know, I don't know if it was just the age I grew up in though, but it was just seemed like I'm gonna just describe it. The Burger King Kids Club. I don't think I'd ever be saying something about this, but let's go. Okay, so
Let's go.
basically, it's like I've always kind of noticed that there was like this, hey, we have this multicultural group of just like, okay, we got, the African dude in a wheelchair and like the 7 foot tall Asian guy, and then there's the skater boy from Dutch Holland, and but it was like that kind of diversity where I was like, wow, there's this whole world outside of my own viewing where it's like, okay, I want to know these stories. I want to know these people. These people seem interesting. It seemed like people I want to get to know. And I mean, just again, just to be real with you, like it's like I kind of took that and then to add another step to it with like with the video games. I don't know if you've ever just
So,
trying to think even how I want to describe this. Have you ever played like I guess they're called like character driven RPGs, role playing games? We're talking
Last
about
of Us or no? Oh, sorry, RPGs. You're talking Final Fantasy 7. You're talking
Kinda.
some of the Pokemon and stuff.
Yeah. Pokemon, exactly. Yeah. No, but so one huge thing was it's actually God, even how would I say this though?
Decision making.
Yes, exactly. Decision making. So like Mass Effect, I know Star Wars Knights of the Republic was
Oh,
a big one, but basically is that you
or
would have these
third life.
casts
Third
exactly.
life.
You would have these casts of characters where it's like again, not only do your decisions change how they react and how they present themselves though, but also part of the game is getting to know their story. And I kind of took that same mindset of just like, okay, like I understand their energy. I understand, or I don't understand their background, but I want to. And I've kind of tried to apply it to people. And I mean, it's served me nothing but just greatness. Because I mean, again, I get to experience like for me, it's I don't get to travel often, but I get to travel with people's stories. I can empathize with
Yeah,
them. So when they tell me
beautiful.
about these experiences, I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Like when you told me about the whole the Korean classroom thing, I'm imagining, I'm literally imagining, like just throughout the day, just seeing the different waves of people where you're just like, okay, we got the regular college students, we got the I'm just I don't know why I'm just imagining a bunch of chain smoking moms just like I don't want to come home right now, just right, just and then
They were the prissy type who wore they wore sun visors so that the sun didn't touch their skin. It's a totally different type of person.
it's so funny. That's so
But
funny.
but
But
two points I want to point out there. Do you remember The Last of Us 2, where you go forward in the game as Ellie, and then you meet her nemesis at the end, and you come back through the story as a second character?
so let me tell you this. So to be honest, I've
So,
never technically played Last of Us, but I know the story, and more importantly, because so we know each other. So okay, the
sure, sure.
second
Yeah.
game, like you said, it's Ellie without spoiling it, and also it's been like what 3, 4 years. If you haven't played it by then, bro, you're missing
Look it up,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's if what I understand is that this bad guy's been kind of chasing or messing with Ellie the entire time, but then you see it from her perspective, and you're like, oh my God, all the stuff that she's been doing, there's justification for it. Like you start and see, like, oh
Because you
my
come
God,
back through the story as a second person. So
exactly.
you understand where she's coming from.
And I mean, what a play, what a play, because I mean, isn't that the whole point? Well, was the first game really like that? That kind of showed that, like, it showed the darkness of humanity, but I don't think it showed, like, hey, the world's a lot more gray and confusing than we give it credit for. Like,
Well, and that's the point I was getting at. It understanding characters, and not every character is justified per se, but they are justified in their own mind.
hmm,
That like to the and I use this word very lightly, having people in my family dies, but to the crazy person, the world is crazy in their head because there's a reality that is true for them.
okay.
So, and that's a whole longer conversation.
I know,
The
right?
second point, the second point I wanted to make was I came out of the English class one time and I told my chairperson, I said, this feels a lot like therapy. And he said, Marcus, that's why it's called the humanities. We're teaching them how to be human.
Let's go. Beautifully said, my
And
friend. Beautifully said.
that's why we need stories. That's why we need video games. That's why we need to hear different perspectives and welcome them to the table because that's how we learn to be human. That's who we answer the greatest question of life. Who are you? That's what life is continually asking us. Who are you? And we go on the hero's journey again and again and again, refining that.
It's well, and then I don't know. Well, okay. I'm going to finally the big question. Why specifically kids? I mean, I kind of know from our conversation over the phone, but I mean, like,
Mhm.
why not, intercommunication with adults or even just like other
Sure,
people? Why specifically these kids?
sure, sure, sure. one, I have experience. I mean, that's that's what I've been doing. So you stay in your lane. I did come out of the
Very
classroom, but I came out of the classroom still wanting to help people, still having the same conversations I had in parent-teacher meetings. And it's worth noting, I'm a communication coach for parents of preteens. And what I do is transformational coaching, working with the client in front of me with the thing that's most relevant to them.
mm,
So I'm working through a lot of their stuff, and that's informing how they communicate with their kid. I really do think, and this comes from conscious parenting, kids are given to us, or we're asked to caregive, because it could be older parents, it could be peers, and so on. We're asked
right.
that we might understand ourselves.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, but I mean, did it ever kind of like lead in? Like, was it a kind of gradual thing that just happened and it just kind of clicked? Or I mean, like it's because again, like I said, I love what you're doing. I think it's important what you're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, I think one thing, what clicked for me was, what can you commit to for a long term? Like, if you want to be an expert in something, what are you going to stick to for the longest? And this book behind me, for those watching the video, this is the goodbye book that my students wrote for me. It's pictures of us when we went on our field trips and whatnot.
Ah, that's so cute.
Oh, watch this, watch this. You have so many stick figures with little afros because I usually wear an afro.
Heck yeah, dude.
And
That must be
I'm gonna show you
me. No.
the last page, right?
Okay.
So when they presented this book to me, it was the last day of school.
You of all people
And
deserve a happy ending. You
you
of
of
all
all people.
people deserve a happy ending. I love that.
So Penny, she was the leader of the group. She's presenting this book. She's like, Mr. Marcus, turn to the last page, turn to the last page. And when I turned to the last page, that's what it said. Because we always used to talk about stories in class. I was
Hmm.
her English teacher.
Okay.
And right when I saw that in my head, it said, do I deserve a happy ending? And it wasn't doubting. It
Hmm.
was it was critiquing. I always ask things as a question.
Okay.
It said, hell yeah. It said, yeah. That's what it said. If
Hell
you're
yeah.
in, it said, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the question was, how do you bring about that happy ending? And the voice in my
Hmm.
head said, you write it.
I love that. Okay.
And
Okay.
and right when it said you write it, I choked up a little bit. I was like, oh yeah. And then Penny says, are you crying? And she proceeded to hug me. Now, following Child Protective Services, you never initiate a hug. But if a kid goes to hug you, you never deny them. And when she hugged me, I dropped down, and then all the kids proceeded to hug me. And like I'm huddled
Oh,
by all these fifth
dude.
graders hugging me. And I was like, oh my God.
I'm drowning in love. Ah! Like,
The reason I mentioned that is because when you asked when I came out of the classroom, did it ever just strike you? I said, I want to be in the game long enough that they can use their principles that I help teach and that I honed in the classroom with their own kids.
I mean,
So
brilliant.
there you go. That's the origin story.
Okay, that's your Batman origin story, so to speak. I know and I know just it's crazy. It's
So
150% crazy. Just the fact that like I see that. I'm imagining that, and I mean that of course that would be your aha moment. And
mm,
especially to everybody else, like he mentioned. So the whole thing, his whole dynamic of why he chooses preteens is because you guys know the horror stories. You guys hear about it all the time where it's just like, okay, oh, I can't connect to my son or daughter. I can't relate to them. Or it's like there's this like disconnect where again, it doesn't feel real. And he wants to step in and say, hey, wait a minute. You want to do something about that. You want to fix the constant, God, what do you want to even say? Just the cliches of the, oh, I unruly teenager, this, that, and the other thing though. And I mean, you get to have those moments where it's like, I get to connect with my son or daughter again. I get to have at such a pivotal moment where maybe instead of the hardest time of them growing up, it's probably not quite the easiest, but you give them more tools where it's like, okay, I'm not alone in this. I have something here. This is amazing. So I don't know.
so
I compliment you for it. And I think that's so cool.
which shares? I mean, we've all been called to what we do. And thank you. Your words are well received. I want to touch on what you said of making it easier. And I won't deny that, but I don't say things are easy or hard. They are effortful. And what makes it different is the attitude that you bring to it. And the reason I say it like that is because
I mean,
it's still going to be a
technically.
lot of it's still going to be a lot of effort. It's still going to be moments of BS, bad stuff. I mean, it's still going to be moments of heartbreaking moments of where you want to break down. The thing that we do as parents, caregivers, coaches, teachers, and so on, as trusted advisors and adults in other people's lives, is we help them make sense of it. Because a big part of transitioning from dependent to independent, or any transition in life, life hits us continually with transitions,
Yeah.
midlife and then elderhood. We figure out who we are in those transitions. One. Yet we figure out who we are with the counsel of people who've gone that road before, and people who we trust, and people who are looking out for our well-being. And we're trying to figure out who can we trust and who can. There's a approach that I have, the whole wall of ice. We can touch into that, but
I was actually going to get up to your framework though, like how we get into show up though, but you keep going, King. You're killing it.
what what I was gonna say is things that grow must first experience stress.
Hmm.
And what I do is I help parents make sense of what that stress is for themselves and for their child, that they can better navigate it.
Can you describe
Because
that, what that is? Because like that sounds
yeah,
like you're like, okay, put an alligator in the living room and like experience it, like figure it out.
the thing is, life is inherently stressful. So we don't have to look for drama. Drama will find you. And what that drama looks like is a conflict of wants. We already mentioned it. Kids want to see independence. Parents want to keep them safe. That's one of the seeds of conflict right there. But then how do we navigate in that balance of life of them satisfying their risk seeking? What is healthy risk? What is unhealthy risk? And then where do us as parents set the guardrails, and how do we set the context and say, okay, these are the confines without you testing these boundaries, and they are going to test them. That's the thing. The reason they're adolescents is they're going to shake the railing on the roller coaster to see if they're safe.
Exactly. Testing the boundaries. They're good. They just like they don't they're in that inquisitive mindset. They're like, okay, I want to figure out how this works. And again, they don't know. That's what they're figuring out. They're trying to, I guess they use them going back to gamer terms. They're trying to figure out like what's breakable, what's the breakable bugs? Like, is this out of bounds? Is this,
Yeah.
and
And the thing is, the work I do, I say is when I'm working with preteens, what foundations can we lay there so that we can become a trusted advisor over time?
okay.
Because trust
Like
is
that.
built over time, right?
Facts,
Um,
yeah.
trust trust will be broken. And what I mean by that is sometimes not willfully by us, but I mean we are fallible humans, right?
And just life happens, like you said. Stress is inherently stressful. Things just happen
Yeah.
sometimes.
And watch this now, Tristan. I believe that's a feature, not a bug, because
I like what you did there. That was clever. I like that.
when you do fall short of your expectations, what do you do to, again, all relationships happen. What defines a relationship is how we deal with the conflict. You repair and reconnect. And when you repair and reconnect, you say, this is what I did. It's not who I wanted to be. And this is what I promise going forward. That's what an apology is. If you can be so humbled as to apologize. But what you're communicating to your kid is this is how adults, this is how adults make right what
Mm,
went wrong. And you're worthy of coming into the adulthood, and this is what we do. And I respect you on that.
I like that.
Because now what you're doing is you are contributing, you're making a deposit inside the trust bank. They know, oh, when this adult messes up, he's gonna come, he's not gonna BS.
He's gonna be like he's gonna own this. He's gonna actually take ownership from this.
Yeah. Now, Yeah, there's so many threads to pull there, but
I know, right? There's
yeah,
it's this is fun. Like I don't think, not to break the fourth wall for our guests, so but
you're all good.
I send questions out to these guys, and I think this is the first time where we're totally just like no parachute, baby. Let's go. And I'm having a great time. This is excellent.
Yeah, I told you this is me on a random Tuesday. You just caught me 4 days later.
God,
Like
I love
I can have this conversation. Yeah,
I love it. So, okay, well, okay,
I
great
follow.
segue.
We're all good.
Let's go back to or explain your show up framework. Okay, so I think I even described my situation. Like I have a nephew that just I'm having a trouble connecting with. Like he's I think trying to figure out his own identity, his own information, and yeah, I don't know what to do at this point. What do you recommend?
Yeah. Boom.
Do I
Well,
hit
with
him?
that
Like how
context,
hard do I hit him? Like just do I
only with the back of your hand.
Okay, there you
That's
go. There you go. Just kidding.
so
We're kidding.
so. Yes, yeah. Let's set up the context as to what he may be going through. And every individual is different. There's no meaning without context, and I have limited context. But I call it the wall of ice, ICE. There's identity formation. As you said, he's trying to figure out who he is. There are
Right.
new expectations for him, and his roles shifting. He's to quote the wonderful Britney Spears, he's not quite a man, but not a boy. She said something else, but anyways,
Something like that. There you go. Something
something
like
like that.
that.
So there's identity breaking. The second thing is collaborative mistrust. He doesn't know who to trust. Skepticism starts setting in at this age. And the reason skepticism starts setting in is because everything your parent was telling you, you took as gospel, you took as truth. But then now you're having access to other perspectives. With the internet, kids are growing up quicker because they have screens that are telling them, hey, there's just more information over here. And they've not yet fine-tuned their critical thinking muscles. Or
Which that's a conversation we're going to get into later because I mean like I can't imagine how much the digital age has like can changed how I mean just child raising and even just communication has happened. Some for the better, some for the much worse.
yeah, yeah. Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation. The generation that grew up on screens and social media, we are the stories we tell ourselves. But if stories are constantly going through your head and you never get to process them, like you really, and then when the screen closes, you have no sense of identity. You can't meet the
Mm,
stresses of life.
interesting.
So there's this whirlwind of trying to make sense of this world, but I don't know who I can trust. And the people who I trust are my other friends and peers going through the same situation, right? We always latch on to our peers, if you will.
Yeah.
Then the third thing they're going through is emotional mismanagement. Emotional management.
Emotional man. That was cute. I like that. References people.
That's what my kid used to say, my kids. The highs feel high, the lows feel low, because what biology is doing is it's making them more sensitive so they can know what is safe out there in the world. Your emotions do five things, but one of them is it's an interface between what's happening in my internal state and am I safe with what's happening in the external state.
Mm,
Now, our emotions, they're indicators and we need to process them. We need to make sense of them, but we don't know, again, who to express that to because how are they going to take it? Are they going to use it against me? Am I even right for feeling this? Because kids are insane. So like they don't even have the language to express it. And if not the language, they have no sense of experience as to say, what does this lead to? And am,
right.
am I right for feeling this? So there's all this confusion going on there. That's why it's awkward. I'll say this as an adult inside your nephew's life.
Mhm.
It's awkward if you make it. And what I
Okay.
mean by that
Yeah,
is,
please.
please
Just don't
clarify
make
that
awkward.
statement.
Just don't, just
Well, what I mean by that is when a kid opens up to you about something, you validate it, you ABC, you accept it as a truth, as their truth. And when I say their truth, that doesn't mean invalidating it, meaning it's less than, but you
yeah.
accept it as their lived experience. Yeah. B, you build upon it. You might say, you know what? I understand why you would feel like that. and you give evidence and examples as to why they might believe that. And then C is challenge it with curiosity. And
Okay.
that's a question. You're not saying they should do this or they should do that. And you're not saying, hey, you should feel like this, but you can challenge it with a curiosity or connect with the story. Talk about how you went through that same experience and what it means to you. And what you're
Okay.
doing is you're opening up the conversation. Because now you're letting them know. When I say it's weird if you make it, you're letting them know, hey, no, this is not necessarily weird. Now, mind you, if it's something where they need to their safety and they need to, in your judgment, they need to be protected from something, or if they confide with you in some way in which they are in danger, yeah, do the right thing. I trust your wisdom as an adult.
Right.
Call the authorities who you need to, or speak to the proper parent and so on. If they trust you as an adult in their life, help walk them through their ideas. It's what Angela Duckworth says is a psychologically wise adult. Every kid needs that in their life. And really what that is a person who can walk through their thoughts with them that they trust to make sense of things. That's
Mm.
what we need as friends. That's what we need as adults. That's what we need as humans. That's why we need community.
Would you say it's difficult to maybe to implement this if like, I mean, again, great foundations. These are great questions, great ideas to bring up or to kind of communicate with the child. But would you say it's very difficult if you kind of bring these to the table, but then maybe that's not being reciprocated at the home?
I'm going to say yes now, and then I'll ask for more context. I will first say this is difficult. One, when I'm working with a parent, I say I respect their wisdom and their approach to it. Like, and if you don't want to work with me, that's perfectly fine. But I'm going to tell you as what I see. And I'm just going to keep it real because all growth starts with truth. And my truth is only mine. It is my perspective. And you have more insight than me.
I know you're making your
When
point.
I
I'm
what
sorry. I'm cutting you off a little bit
you're
though.
you're all
Just
good. You're all good. You're all good. Shoot it. Yeah,
to
this is how
go
conversation
back to
happens.
that is have you ever kind of had to get very real with the parent, be like, bro, what you're doing is having the opposite effect. You are not doing the right thing for your child. What you think you're trying to do is not happening. Have you ever had to kind of just get like knife deep? You're like, bro, fix this.
Uh not to laugh, sorry, but
No, it's because it's like, bro, you
yeah,
suck.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. You know what? I'm gonna say no. And the reason I say no, and I'm going back to my classroom days, people, when I say I trust the wisdom of them, I want them to come to their understanding of people already, I feel, if you're coming to me, that means it's important to you.
okay,
So let me say it like this, okay?
fair.
I'll say it like this. When people are not meeting their expectations or their wants or their goals,
Mhm.
it's one of three things. Either one, they don't have the skills to do it. And that's what it sounds like the parent you're talking about. Like you don't have these skills. Or two, they don't feel supported in making an effort to get those skills. Some people, their ego, because of their ego, they're like, no, 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 I know what I'm doing. And it's just like, well, this is where you're falling short. I'm giving them feedback. This is a suggestion for improvement. And I trust your wisdom on what the next step is because I need you to own it.
Exactly.
That's my coaching because I need it to happen from the inside out. Because if I just tell you what to do, then that's me telling you, and you're going to be dependent on me. I got to see you as a creative, as a person, and not a victim of your own hands, right?
No,
Or three,
man, shit.
this is the third thing, or they don't care. It's not important to them. Now, if you're working with me, that means you care, like it's important to you.
Right.
And I'm either going to tell you, look, I support you in making an effort to get the skill, or two, this is not the skill yet. And I'm just telling you, you don't have skills. I'm not saying you're unworthy of being a parent or you're not worthy of being a person. So I'm not going to demean them. I'm not going to say you suck. I'm going to say you're growing and this is where you're deficient. And if they feel offended by that, then
It's hard. Again, it's like if
we'll
this
cross
is
that
what
bridge.
makes you feel offended, then this is going to be a hard conversation, I guess.
Yeah. But but all growth happens in hard conversations. It's and the way it happens easier is when you hold the person in dignity. You're like, hey, I'm having this conversation because I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. And if you didn't care, you wouldn't pay me.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we can either have this conversation or not.
And I want to be careful because I know I kind of may have already just accidentally just said it, but it's people I care about, but there's unfortunately some
Yeah,
real
yeah,
just
I
like
get.
issues going on in the home, and kind of like what I described before. It's like, again, you could say, hey, we're going to do this. This is how we're going to do all this right stuff here again and again and again. But it just, unfortunately, it's not getting met. It's like these things aren't like we could, I feel like, again, we can elaborate all this like ice where it's like, okay, this is some real growth we can work on though. But at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like we get tired. We're tired of arguing, or it's like
yeah,
maybe fortunately at this point,
yeah.
bad habits have already become cemented so much where it's like we go to, what was it, the collaboration
Well,
mistrust. It's that
framework.
whole thing where it's like I've already written
Yeah,
you off that you don't know what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about. I don't want to listen to you though. And yeah,
yeah.
that at this point I'm kind of like, how do we even break that? How do we be like, hey, like, please trust me? And it also doesn't help the fact that I'm gajillion miles away to where it's like, I mean, phone calls are one thing, but I mean, I bet it's definitely it changes the game when you're physically there and you can actually like say and show these things.
So yes to all of that.
I'm sorry, I know they're like,
Um,
oh, bro, this is it's like I didn't come for your therapy
oh
session,
no,
but like
no,
this
this
is
is
real. This is very
no, no,
real.
no. This this is this is very real. This is beautiful in that, and when I say this is beautiful, I mean this is a real problem, as opposed to the willy-nilly frameworks and so on we can bring here. There is the processing of trauma. And when I say trauma, that's stress that people bring. Look, when I say all growth starts with stress, it's a stress. There's stress that's manageable, there's stress that's expected, and there's stress that you know you'll feel supporting.
Mm,
That's what exercising is. That's why you run, that's why you do push-ups, pick up heavy things. Then there's stress that's chronic, there's stress that's unexpected, and there's stress that is too much for you to bear. So what you either do is you either go the 20-yard glare, you become numb to it, or you become oversensitive to it, right? I was thinking we call them stripper eyes, but you
I
you
love
numb
it.
yourself to the world. You
But no,
just dead
exactly. You're
yourself.
just like if you can only know the unimaginable horrors I've witnessed. But yeah.
Yeah. And then stress that is chronic like that becomes unprocessed, and unprocessed stress shows up as, in my words, trauma in the present.
Mm,
Trauma is just unprocessed stress in the present. It comes
okay.
from a story that happened in the past. And if this kid hasn't made sense of this story, if this parent hasn't made sense of this story, sometimes they stay in their trauma bonds or they stay inside their old scripts. And I encourage them to therapy if that's the modality they want to go down. I encourage them to explore that. And like I can show them avenues to manage that part of their life, which needs to be managed. They need to process some stress, right? And I can give them perspective. I'm not a professional in that, and know your lane. A person who I would recommend, she's called the, and again, she's support, not in a professional sense. And she
Mm.
says that at the beginning of all her videos. What is it? The crappy childhood fairy? I'm saying it incorrectly, but
I
she has a
love
nice
that.
YouTube channel. Yeah. The crappy fairy godmother or something like that. You can search it up.
I was gonna say, does it rhyme with childhood fairy? The something like that. I don't know.
You know what? I'm glad that I'm getting it wrong because now I have to look it up to get it right. So
There
then
you
in the
go.
future.
Helping you out, brother. There you
Um,
go.
and I say all that to say, here's a metaphor that I'll share with you. You could take it into your life. I say I don't. I support people. I support people. If a helicopter is flying out to a rescue scene, a boat has capsized. There are people drowning in the water. The helicopter has limited time and fuel. Who do they fly to first? And it's not a trick question.
Hmm.
Who do they fly to first? You have a capsized boat, and
Usually,
let's say there are
well,
50
oh,
people in the
sorry, go
water.
ahead.
Now, I'm just setting up the context. There are 50 people in the water. Who do they fly to first?
Usually women and children, I'm thinking.
Mm. They fly to the person swimming towards the helicopter, swimming towards a ladder.
Hmm.
Reason being, if a person's not swimming towards a ladder, they're not making an effort on their end to be saved.
That's where it comes down to. It's like, are we doing the hard work, or are we willing to swim to the helicopter as if it was like our life raft, or it's like this is literally the only thing that's going to save me right now?
When I approach a dynamic, and this comes from the empowerment dynamic, I'm coming as a coach, and as a coach, I believe the solution, the answer is within you. I believe you can do it, and I'm here to support you in doing that. As opposed to the role of I'm coming as a rescuer. I'm not here to
Hmm.
save you per se. I'm here to support you towards what you want.
Interesting.
Some people don't want a healthy. Some people don't want a healthy relationship for whatever reason. It could be old scripts that they know. It could be because it's codependency, or this is what feels good because I'm getting my needs met like this. There's no judgment towards them. There are reasons they stay inside that, but you can't move a person towards wanting something else. They move towards their desires.
Let's use the same example. But the
Yeah.
great helicopter analogy, because now I can actually like, okay, here's a counterpoint to that. What do you do, or how can you almost be healthy with the fact where, let's say that same person, where again you're the helicopter, you're offering, hey, it's here if you're willing to come towards it. How do you, I mean, gosh, how do we want to say this? What if the people don't want to be saved, or it's more negativity bringing it down, or it's like again like they're almost capsizing the helicopter because again they don't want to be saved. They maybe that it's even almost difficult to describe what they exactly want though, but it's like more of like their toxicity is hurting the helicopter. Like, how do you just kind of, all right, just mess off this? I don't know if I'm making a good example, but
You're making I feel I understand exactly what you're saying,
thank you.
and I'll repeat it back to you. What if they are endangering you by you reaching out to them?
Exactly.
Have you ever seen a buoy? Of course, you've seen a buoy. And a
A,
lifeguard, one
a
of the things they
child?
teach you,
What?
a BOUI buoy. The the lifeguard, they teach you in lifeguard school. You throw it out to a drowning person because they will pull down on it and they will pull themselves up. But you don't go to a thrashing person, because what they will do is they will pull you down as a lifeguard,
Absolutely.
and they will
Yeah.
drown you and the lifeguard. If to use the urban song, "Don't Save Her," she don't want to be saved. And, and that sounds cold-hearted. Put your mask on first, be present when they want to open up.
Mhm.
But you also have desires of what you want to create and what you want to leverage. And I promise you this, I promise you this. You would not be fulfilled. You would not be happy if you were being pulled down, being sucked down, if you then lost all your resources, your power, saving this person who didn't want to be saved.
Yeah. It's real.
Now, we are here to be support for other people. And we do reach out. We do throw lifelines. And we put our mask on first. And that's a decision, again, you have to make. And I'm speaking as an uncle. I'm speaking as a person outside of the family dynamic with a parent. It's a different conversation for a parent to have with their kid. I get that. That's a harder conversation. I wouldn't necessarily say what I'm saying to a parent. I may say it a little bit different because I know what they have to go through. In dealing with preteens, I'm trying to create an atmosphere because you have more control. You set the tone of the home. I'm trying to create an atmosphere or a culture. People like us do things like this, a
Mhm.
culture of appreciation and gratitude from a young age. And that's how you mitigate a lot of attitude. It's, hey, we have different viewpoints, we have different ideas, but I appreciate you and I'm grateful for what you bring to this family. And that's how you build respect.
Okay.
I know I touched on a lot of points.
No,
Um,
it's just something to kind of chew on because it's just like again, this is what I ultimately pray. And I mean, again, I don't think I've done a good job in hiding their identity, but I hope if he is listening eventually, he might not because children have terrible attention spans. But I hope he knows that I love him and that I care about him. And maybe I wasn't always the helicopter that needed to save him, but I want him to know that I want to be, or more importantly, that like I'll be there when he really, really needs it. I just I pray that again it won't get so bad that like I have to consider turning the helicopter around because they don't want to be saved. They say they want to be saved, but the actions aren't showing it that way. I pray to God that never happens, but man, where did this conversation get so
I hear
dang
you.
intense? What happened? My goodness.
It got intense because we were being real people, man.
I love it. No, dude, this is what I'm here for. And this man, just thank you. Like one thing I always do is I tell people I'm either going to edit something out that I don't or overly compliment them. I think I complimented you maybe twice or three times so far. This has been again, we're talking about first impressions. I always don't really know what I'm getting into with a guest, and I was kind of 50-50 with us. I knew you had a caring heart. I knew you had a good message and a good like kind of program. Like I knew this was like, okay, this is a good guest. I just wasn't even remotely expecting this, and this has been a very pleasant surprise. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And you know what I appreciate? I appreciate people who have real conversations. Sometimes there are formalities of just like, let's dance around this. I do the dance, you do the dance, and then we leave. But
Nah,
then it's
we
like, no, no, I really have this.
gotta point that elephant in the room. Just like, look at that dude. Look how gray did the ears. Look at it, man. You know?
I mean, because we're real people living real lives, right? Uh, one thing before we leave from this, or if not, I'll follow your lead again. But when I say I work with communication, to know that you have support there ready goes a long way when you're in the trenches of something. And I'll give you an example. When I was first starting out at this one school,
Mhm.
there were these expectations set on me that were wild. My mother passed during COVID, and I was dealing with that. Like in the
Sorry about
morning,
that.
thank you. But it happened where, like, I'm trying to help my parent, my brother manage stuff in the States, being present for them, have these kids who are they're locked down, and then the expectations of me of what was happening in class, everybody was high wired then. And when I exercise, I sweat, my eyes get red. And I came to school with like some sunglasses on, and a principal saw me, and I think he thought I was drinking, but like I'm like, nah, dude, I don't drink. Well, I did drink. Um,
You're just
well,
like, bro, nah, my mom died, and he probably felt really awkward about it. Like,
well, clear up that before I pass over. I did not drink going to school. I socially drank. Now I don't drink. And my eyes were red just because I was exercising. I was crying at moments, but I'm not showing up to school drunk, right? But I had sunglasses on, and he told me, he said, "Hey, Marcus, before life gets too heavy, come to my office. You know, let's talk about it." And that was a bit of relief. And it was just like I knew I had support if I needed it.
heck yeah.
Now, to your point, that might look like a side conversation with the person in your life of just like, hey, if the wheels start rattling, like I'm here to help you think through some stuff, speak through it, or even if you just need to bounce some ideas off of, call me. It might look like a letter of, hey, this is relevant to you because this is something that I've seen, that I've gone through. This is how I managed it. And I'm not trying to speak into your life, but if and when you're ready, bring this letter to me and you have my undivided attention. And then that person might carry that letter with them for the next 2 months, for the next year or two.
Like, yeah. Okay. No, and just even a shout out to everybody that's listening though. Like it, not to hit them with the classic, like I always see this on Facebook and it means well. It sounds low-key corny, but I mean I'd rather, I guess, it sound corny than not have anything at all. But the whole like, hey man, I'd rather, say something beautiful, at your funeral versus, oh sorry, I want to say something nice to you now versus say something beautiful at your funeral. Like basically like if you're going through stuff, say something. But in reality, no, absolutely. Like guys, like if you see somebody kind of going through it, like some people do it. I wish people would do it more. Kind of like shout out, just like, hey, like, you doing okay? Do you want to
Yeah.
talk? Is everything all right? Because I mean, I bet even just for that split second when they said, hey, come to my office. I mean, granted, probably it's like, oh shit, oh, fuck, okay, I'm fine. But it was that moment of, hey, man, I see you struggling. It's acknowledging, I see that pain you're going through. It's like, you want help with that? You want just like maybe someone help like take it off for a minute, or maybe ease it, or maybe I might say something super profound that you're like, wow, I don't have to freaking hold on to this anymore. So
And
this
this
episode,
is what we, parents and caregivers and teachers, it's, hey, I could be wrong. This is what I'm seeing. And when you're ready, because what we're doing is, again, we're empowering them, putting it on their timeline. When you're ready, I'm here to support you.
there you go.
And it could be that they just have hay fever. You know what I mean?
No, actually, can you elaborate?
Their eyes are red because they
Okay,
have hay.
okay, yeah,
It,
yeah.
it, but when you know you have support, it's a mental load lifted of, yeah, I didn't give enough context to that.
No, no, I'm
Um,
just laughing because I was like, is that code for something? Just like, yeah, bro, I got the fever, dude. Got the hay fever, man.
well, you know what it is, and we do this as parents, and as I've done this as a teacher. When somebody is going through some stressor and they can manage it, but you're wanting to come in and save them from anxiety or suicidal ideation, it's just like, I wasn't even thinking that. Like, you're reading the room
Mm,
wrong. And it's just like, dude, you don't know what's happening here. You kind of lose that trusted advisor role. That's why with the trusted advisor, it's, this is what I see from these indicators. I could be wrong because you know what you're going through better than I do.
right. Like,
And
I can tell you what's
you know,
happening here.
even if they don't know what they're going through, they have information that you don't have. You're more
Absolutely.
informed than me. When you're ready to share that information, I'm not going to use it with anybody else, but I can help you with some insight, or just come to me if you need support.
Yeah. No. And the funny thing is, this like, I mean, granted, like, thank God you tied it back to the chunk. Because I was like, are we even talking about like the same thing right now? Because I mean, like we talking about some very beautiful different things. I mean, not technically. I mean, no, sorry, I redact that
We're
statement.
talking about
No,
growth. We're talking about
life,
people growing, man.
real life
Life.
stuff, man. Exactly, exactly. There's, I don't know if we even touched up on it, but your show up framework. So we talked a little bit about
Mm.
kind of like how you can identify, okay, there's something. I understand what my kid's going through. I understand ice. How do we correct that?
Show up.
What show up, Marcus?
It's a framework that I have. S is, it starts with a strong identity. All behavior comes from the belief of who I am, of I am. And this goes deeper. Virtues and values. All humans have virtues. Virtues are the 24 characteristic traits from virtues in action, VIA, positive psychology. And really, what they are, even deeper than that, it's just ways in which we work towards our own personal well being or the well being of others in community. That's like creativity, what is it, perseverance, leadership. Everybody has these 24 virtues, and they're expressed uniquely in everybody.
Okay.
Those are your virtues. Your values are what's important to you. Could be
Mm.
could be finances, could be family. Everybody has something that's important to them. When you know somebody's virtues and values, you can actually craft a message that is specific for them, and you can actually speak to their growth. And actually, when you give them evidence and examples of those virtues and values, they will start to believe that. And that's how you develop confidence inside a person.
Let me ask you this. Is it that
So,
starting with the strong virtues from them, or you have to find it within yourself and then you kind of like lead that to them? Or I guess, yeah, you can.
yes, and.
Yes, and that's
So
you and bro.
I show up on this podcast because I know who I am. It's my identity as a communication coach for parents of preteens. I acknowledge your identity that you may hold for yourself, and I hold an identity for you. People move towards your expectations. So when I'm interacting with you, I'm looking for your virtues in action. I'm looking for your
Mhm.
leadership in a podcast. I'm looking for your curiosity. I'm looking for your social awareness. And covertly, that's how I'm opening up the conversation. I know what's important to you. I know what your values are. There are people in your life who you want to help. There's also your audience who you're trying to have a good podcast for. So I'm conversing with you in your virtues and values.
Okay. And I mean, you are. You're definitely you're definitely doing that. So, okay.
H is hold space for collaboration and critical thinking. That means when we're going through inviting them to the solution, getting it's active listening, getting their ideas, their understanding, then sharing your understanding and ideas, and then working on a mutual solution towards it. If that solution fails, we revisit it. Because when kids are going through problems, they often think, what's wrong with me?
Hmm.
When there's nothing necessarily wrong with you, it's just you don't have the skills or you don't feel supported,
No,
right?
exactly. That's exactly it.
O is open up communication, which just means, yeah, the quality of your life is directly related to the quality of your communication. It's worth noting there's a book called 14 Conversations I Have with by Age 14 by Michelle Eckert.
Okay.
And she has a approach or a framework called brief, keeping these conversations short because kids are anxious around this sometimes, could be, but you're waiting until they open up and then you keep the conversation brief. That is, begin peaceably because you can't begin with conflict, but don't blow it out of proportion because you're already setting up the context for failure if you, yeah. So begin peaceably. R is make it relevant. E is or I is information gathering. That's active listening. E is echoing back what you've heard. And then F is giving your feedback. You
I mean,
keep
I
the
love it.
conversation short. Yeah. You let them initiate it, or you can initiate it and you offset it by saying, hey, let's talk about this in 30 minutes, just so that they feel prepared. And there are other tactics inside my framework for opening up communication. DR, sorry, show up.
It's
SHO.
gonna be like, yeah,
W is
a lot of acronyms.
a lot of acronyms. Wonder and explore this world together. That means committing to long-term projects that you're self-directed. Comes from Angela Duckworth's grit. Like we commit to something for long terms based on our identity that we
Hmm.
can't give up on. And then it creates a conversation for you and your kid to talk about, right?
What
And
exactly
then
does that look like as far as like a
sure.
goal? Is it more just like
Yeah.
building a Lego figuring together, or more like, hey, we're learning karate together, or
Yeah, age appropriate. So it could be with like your 6-year-old, 7-year-old, he wants to build the Death Star.
the Lego
It
piece,
could
right? Or
be,
like an honest to God,
yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah,
planet
yeah.
killer.
The Lego Death Star.
I love it.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, the
that
Lego Death.
positive? You're like you're encouraging like a genocide on a global scale, or sorry, a worldly scale, I guess.
You want them to be creative, and you know it might open up the conversation of, okay, why are you trying to kill these people? I see this darkness arising in you. If Anakin had a little bit more of some show up, he may not have swayed to the dark side. Anyhow, that's another
No, no,
conversation.
that's kind of leading into the next topic we have though. But I like where you're going. But no, okay. But
Uh,
I see because well, at least with the W is that you're showing them like, hey, not only do I'm interested, because again, it's like what you said very beginning in the call, is that there's that hunger or that desire to know more. It's like, hey, I'm showing interest in the thing that you're interested in. That's you're already on a good topic, but you're also again working on it with them together, while in theory probably doing the other S and the H and the O as well while you're working on it. So it's like kind of again, you're working toward a common goal while also building not necessarily morale. I forgot what the other word would be. Rapport. You're just it's
Building rapport. Yeah.
but in a natural, loving way where it's not so freaking medical or it's like a serial killer. We're like, I'm doing this so I can groom you to be the evil dark Sith Lord. We know we're back to Star Wars, but no, I it's that's brilliant. Okay,
You know, it is happy people have projects, and this comes from Sonia Lyubomirsky.
love it. Brilliantly said. Happy people have projects. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, hey, what are you working on that is self-directed? And you ask, what does that look like? It could look like karate. It could like learning a second language, but it's like something you decide to work on that is effortful.
Good luck like building a Death Star.
It look like building a Death Star.
There you go.
And then UP is unveil your potential, which just means celebrate. We don't
Okay.
celebrate people being themselves or being their identity. And what that means is when they make progress towards their goal, celebrate them. Celebrate them. Small things, big things, celebrate them.
I like that. I don't know if you know,
So
you mind if I ask, maybe in your ever ask a lady, a gentleman never asks a lady their weight or their age. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
you mean me or a woman? Because
Or
because
I know,
you
I
late.
know, I know. That's a way. I did this before with another guy, and he's like, "Why did you start that way? This is weird." No, how old are you?
Oh, okay, okay. I was born in 82. I give a math.
Okay, all right. Do
You gotta
you
work it.
or have you? I mean, granted, you've moved around a lot, and it's probably gone by the time that you left Cali. Have you ever been or have you heard about Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor?
No. Is it a branch or it's like In and Out but for ice cream?
Not quite here. Let me see if I can find. I'm not even see if I can find. Let me just
You
get something.
have Dutch boy right next to you.
Oh, dude, bro, like it's like I gotta get that medicine to do this episode here. Give me like half a sec. I'm literally just going right here. See, like
Uh-huh.
here's like the office. I know, sorry, I'm like being distracted
You're all,
though, but there's like
it's all
cleaning
good.
stuff.
Go.
All right, so, well, my head's too big, unfortunately, but you know, there's a little hat there for
Okay,
you.
okay. Uh-huh.
So
Barbershop quartet.
Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor was a restaurant, and I have to say was because unfortunately I think it's gone now. But it was a place where the entire gimmick is to celebrate. Like the main shtick was you'd come to celebrate your birthday. Every birthday you'd get a free ice cream sundae, and they sing some super lame Weird Al parody song of a popular song about ice cream. Like it just again, just anything. I think we might have made one of a Frozen. Do you want to build a snowman? It's like, do you want to do you want an ice cream sundae? It was fun, but just being there every day, celebrating
Mhm.
people, it didn't get old. It was, I would always tell people it's one of the most magical jobs I've ever had because again, like everyone's like, oh, it's just a birthday. Oh, you're just wasting cake and paper. No, like again, I know you're talking about celebrating little victories, small victories though, but there is really saying about something when you can celebrate with somebody. Regardless of how big or small it is, though, it's just that it's people cling on to that. They feel supported by it. They feel loved by that, though. And I can definitely at least relate with the up part of it, though, because it's like, I don't know, there's just something about when, again, you either have a victory or you have someone that's not only rooting for you, but like, bro, like this whole event is to celebrate the thing you did. Yeah, I don't know. It's, yeah,
So celebrate, the etymology is gather together to honor.
gather together.
Coming
Bro,
together.
you just got
To,
all the
to, to,
acronyms. You just got all the ABCs, one, two, threes.
well, as an English teacher, right? But when you gather together to honor, that means gathering together to, we could say, appreciate. Apprecio means to see the value in something, to see the value in another person. Where in today's society do we recognize the value of other people?
kind of
So like just
don't.
being intentional on saying you are valuable, you're worthy. The antithesis of that, suicide ideation oftentimes comes from us seeing where we have no value, no worth towards the
Mm,
collective or towards ourselves. So if you want to combat that, be intentional on letting people know how they are valuable to you in your life. Like what value do they bring? Create a culture of appreciation.
goes right back to that thing I was mentioning, the whole like I'd rather again tell you something loving now than say something beautiful at your funeral. Again, just it's that it's showing up. Like I don't know, but
And you show up when you suck. You show up when you're at your best. You show.
just show up. Well, I mean, and Marcus, I gotta say thank you for just some very deep, beautiful conversations. This was a blast. I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't know this because I don't expect you to be like, bro, you didn't just follow my entire podcast career. Like, I took a bit of a break. People didn't really know, but like I stopped doing Podmatch for a while because there was just too many guests. I was getting overloaded. A lot of life events happened, and I was having a lot of pause and fear about starting this up again. Like I'd either get too many people or I want to get the right guests or I'd just be like phoning it in. And you definitely are reassuring me that this is the right thing I'm doing. You're definitely making me like, okay, no, no, no. I can still find value and love in people. And this again, oh, I don't know what is this, the fourth, fifth thank you? We'll have a timer here, just ding. But thank you for coming on here and having these conversations.
Thank you for the platform, or else I'd just be in a room talking to myself.
I'm actually not real. This is all a figment of your imagination. I'm sorry to break it to you. This is schizophrenia is fun.
Woo sense, yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
You know what?
Yeah.
So I are you Jewish? I was just wondering with the oi.
I no, no,
You know
but
what?
bro, I get it
Good or
so
bad, but yeah.
much. Like I could fit into a synagogue and people are like, Shmorty, how's it going? How's it? How's your circumcision? I don't know, just
Before I was distracted, I was gonna say, you know, what Rogan does is he invites all his guests, and I want to start podcasting, and you already have your sea legs, like you know what the flow is, but maybe it might be. I'm gonna think out an AI workflow where I can put in a person's name, it does some background study on them, and then it creates a PDF, and I send it to them of, hey, I saw some work that you do, and I just wanted to invite you to have this conversation.
hmm.
And so then I would be having the conversations that I wanted around a topic that I'm interested in. And so then I would have some longevity there for
That's
being part.
smart. That's smart. I mean, because that's kind of ideally that's why I do this cast for is that a lot of times and I always joke, I don't know if I sent this to you in the email, but I would always tell people my podcast is like the Joe Rogan experience, except there's no elk meat discussions and we're not doing DMT. I mean, if we need to, but but no, but
Underrated.
that's exactly it. Because I again, just not even just education, just learning fascinates me. I don't know everything. I kind of want to, or at least like I get hyped when people get excited, and when I can understand something, and the person's like, like you under now you're in it with me. It's exciting because it's like not only it's like okay, you're not alone, but now it's like now we're in this together, and maybe I might have like some outside the box solution. It's just it hits on so many boxes. It hits on so many things. I know you
Yeah.
said you had to go soon. I know we're wrapping up. I hear the school bell. I hear our lesson. Our lesson's getting over. You did great work on my child. I now need to implement these lessons you taught me. Two things. I want to have one mini conversation to end it out, but for the people that want to get a hold of you, or it's like if people want to know more about this, or either need help with their child, or I mean, do you have a book? Do you have a program? Like how can my people get a hold of you?
I'm actually writing a book currently,
Ooh.
and I'll be back on for that if you'd have me.
Out, please.
It's called
Like, bro, you got the back. You already got the past like 10 minutes in, dog. Like you're like, it's gold. It's gold.
marcushiggs.com. This weekend I'm working on my workshop to the first one is how to establish the identity. It starts with a strong identity. You'll find a free workshop there, 7-day email course that will connect with videos on establishing the strong identity in your kid and in yourself. So if you think that I have acronyms and frameworks and everything now, like that
You ain't
day
seen
course,
nothing yet.
you'll I'm pretty proud of it, but I need to get it out there. And if you go to marcushiggs.com, it will be there.
That's his name, not Marcus Aurelius Higgs, just Marcus Higgs, MarcusHiggs.
It's two G's.
MarcusHiggs.com. And would you even say that your program, or at least this course that you're mentioning, would it also maybe be able to apply to even adults, or if people want to, again, better connect with other people, again, like maybe managers to their employees, though, a teacher to students? I mean, do you think this could translate?
Say like this, the work that I do is about human development
The
and
humanities.
the humanities, right? I say yes. And
Bro,
every
that's the episode. Yes, and I'm gonna make it. I love this. Thank you.
uh, at any time anytime you come across relationship information, think about how you might apply to any relationship you're having. Because another thing I say is love is always the same. It's just expressed differently depending on the context. Like ice or water is water. It's H2O. But sometimes it's ice, sometimes it's steam, sometimes it's liquid. But
Right.
just look how it fits the context. And in finding that identity, the same thing that I ask you to do with your child is the same thing I'm going to ask you to do with yourself. I'll give you a quick one. I am fill in the blank because fill in the blank. That because
Mm.
part, you're finding evidence and example to support that I am. You get to choose what those blanks are. Now, when we speak with people, I'm going to say you are a good podcast host because you were very present. I'm speaking into your identity.
I didn't even have to tell him to say that, people. He said on his own. I'm also notorious for like begging for compliments. So like, bruh, like in your face, everybody. I'm a good host. No,
Yeah, they can
okay.
be learned for adults.
Excellent. I know. MarcusHiggs.com. Brother, man, like, dude, you're when the book's finished, come back on. I'd love to stay in touch. I don't have kids yet, but when we got little ones, though, I mean, if you're still in the game, I very much think I might hit you up and be like, hey, I have all the strong personality, but I'm not implementing it the right way. I might be calling you and talking to you because I don't know. Again, it's you definitely given me hope, and not only have I felt heard, but I felt like I'm definitely not alone. And more than anything, I think you kind of reminded me that, like, hey, dude, like adversity breeds like character. Like, bro, this is gonna be hard because life is hard. It doesn't mean that it's too hard for you or something like that. I feel more determined or just like I don't know. I'm reminded of how strong I am and can be, and that's refreshing. So again, thanks, man. Appreciate that. You're coming back on next time.
It's I had a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Final fun question before we go. I might edit this out just because I'm breaking the fourth wall. Is there anything you feel like you haven't got a chance to share or anything like you'd like to go in more before we go?
Well, lead with gratitude and leave with gratitude. I just want to say thanks.
Lead with
There's so
gratitude and lead
much.
with gratitude. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, just thanks.
Final
Um,
question I wanted to get into was I don't know if you remember set question 17, but like, okay, so and you know Last of Us, so I know you know a little bit of some pop culture. So what is like a famous dysfunctional family or like bad boy child that how would your show up program like how would this framework would you use like how would you use to kind of help the family kind of be more copacetic together?
Simpson. Yeah. First, he has a lot of misdirected energy.
And just to be clear, we're talking about Bart Simpson, right? That's what we're getting
Simpson.
into.
Yeah, yeah. The
Okay.
Simpsons. The Simpsons. I
Yeah.
would love to work with. First, they've lived an awesome life, a very interesting life. And
Hmm.
I've seen their character arc over the years. I think they're the longest running TV show, at least animation for sure.
Oh, definitely think sitcom because I think 30 years. I don't know if there's been a sitcom that's been going on longer.
So you've seen his character arc, and you've seen like he started off in the Tracy Ullman show, just like, yeah, bratty kid. But Homer shows up for them. You know, Homer is a caring person. He is a, and I'm just going into character development of The Simpsons, but the show framework would work because, or how I would make it work is sitting down with them to learn how to appreciate each other, and I think they do that. Homer doesn't choke Bart anymore.
I was just gonna say that's kind of the elephant in the room. Like, bro, can you just like that's where I would say that's the kind of come to Jesus moment. Like, bro, you gotta stop choking your kid. Like,
You
just
guys stop choking your kid. Yeah. I yeah, they I've seen how their family has grown over the years. I've seen how the writers have come and gone, and I would love to work with them. I think it's possible. Yeah.
I think that's the main thing you would say is that you see Bart's energy, you see kind of what he's capable of, and more importantly, you would highlight their very positive characteristics and kind of let them lean on that. And that's how you kind of would get them to be closer and maybe have more, you know.
You let people see how they're connected to other people through their strengths. And
Mm.
yeah.
And you know what, forgive me. I feel like I'm almost not all the time, but there was a good chunk of this conversation where I was not using quite the right words. Because again, it's not necessarily like you're helping people or you're leading them into it. It's more like you're letting them lead themselves into it. Again, you're letting them come to those conclusions. So it's not like, oh, hey, look at all this good work I'm doing. You're just like, hey, I'm just facilitating. I'm just being the helicopter. They want to see the work, do the work. I'm here, but they're the ones doing it. So I think that's the key distinction. It's not necessarily, are you doing it to fix it? It's like, how can I show them how to fix it? Well, how can I show them to let them fix it? Right? I guess. Yeah, that sounds correct. I'll say, yeah, that sounds right.
Sorry.
Well, all right. I
I'm
think this
sorry, Christian.
session's.
Sorry, sorry.
Well, sorry. What were
Okay.
you saying?
No, no, no. My internet dropped out just when you said, forgive me, I've been using the wrong word.
I said something beautiful that you're gonna have to friggin' listen to the episode to know what I said. Dang it. Well, good guy. I'm just um
You said I'm
basically
forgive me, I've been using the wrong words.
I
Yeah.
was just saying how damn every it's funny because everyone listening is like, wow, that's so beautiful. Basically, no, you know what? I can't even summarize it very well. I don't want to just say it again. You do a good job in not necessarily fixing the people, but being a tool to show themselves how to fix it. Like again, not saying, "Hey, this is what you need to do," or "This is where you need to go," but giving them the opportunity and the tools that they can make those decisions and see for it themselves. And I think that's the key is that you it's not, "Oh, I get the glory." It's, how can I help facilitate this so that they can come to those conclusions so that they can see the victories, not say, "Oh, I wasn't victorious because of Marcus. Marcus showed me that I'm victorious because of this, or Marcus showed me that I am victorious." And it changed how I thought about it though, but I made those decisions and I made those conclusions. So I just
Two things
I'm
happen. Yeah. Two things happen when you do that. I think we live in a better society because now that's the first thing. I think we live in a better society because you did something awesome. Two, you get to own that. Like you get that becomes part of your story. And I'm cool with that. Cool with that.
yes, Dan, baby. Well, guys, and Marcus, unless speak now, forever hold your peace. Think you're good
Bro,
to go.
it was a beautiful moment.
Well, guys, and when you listen to the episode, you could be like, "Wow, that was really beautiful." My internet sucks. It's gonna be really, but I actually think it's gonna be really funny when you like listen to it and hear it exactly what I said. It's basically what I said, but guys, that's been Marcus. I've been Tristan, and I can beautifully and wonderfully say this is an ordinary person, but I cannot like overstress it enough that with an extraordinary story. I'd love to have you back on here, Marcus. I'd love to hear more about your tales of teaching and the lives you've touched. And I know you will come back on. So thanks again, my friend.
A pleasure.
Guys, lead with gratitude and also leave with gratitude. See ya. And that is it. Wait. Okay, we're still recording. I'm like, oh my God. Thank you for listening to another episode of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. If you're interested in helping the channel, feel free to click on the link below to get access to our Patreon, where we have exclusive episodes and clips not shown to the public. And of course, if you believe you yourself have an interesting story to tell, or know somebody who would be great for the show, feel free to email me back at OPESpodcast@gmail.com. That's OPES. That's the acronym for the show, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories, OPES, podcast@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, and until next time.